let's say, go back over the last 4 years. I think this would be safe to say is that a lot of those who tend to lean Democratic and support Democratic causes support the wrong issues because they thought that this was a way that they could get control back because they couldn't win elections. And they were unsuccessful that year because I think, again, the issues were so complicated to understand. A year later, you know, if we had had the apportionment war in 2006, Democrats had 2 of the 3 seats. It was Bruner and Strickland. And as such, then the Republicans said, well, it's time to reform this thing here, and the Democrats said, not so fast. And so one party's always going to charge the other one here with playing politics, and usually a lot of reforms come out of there when you're in the minority. I can't think of a better time than 2009 when the playing field is level here, and doing this a year before the gubernatorial election here, that we change the Constitution this November. And that's what I hope to see happen. Now, you know, I may very well have run my last election. I just got reelected to my last term in the Senate, and then, you know, I may be done when I'm gone. I guess, you know, just as a citizen here, I like to see the process reform. I think it needs reform. I'm not suggesting throwing out and doing something completely radical, improve upon the process here. So we, as a voter, I think all of us want to make sure we have some degree of confidence that, in fact, we're drawing districts here that make legislators, again, responsive to their citizens. We keep talking about competitive districts. What we're really talking about here is being responsive to the voters. And as Kevin pointed out, you know, he probably does not reflect exactly the political spectrum in his district there, but he's done a good enough job there. People have reelected him to the House, what, 3 times? Or, I forget how many times you served before. 2 terms in the House and then 2 terms in the Senate there. You know, I can't say that's true of everybody who's ever come through here since term limits. But I guess if I were a party chairman or a political leader here, I got to sit here and gauge, do I want to bet that I'm going to be successful next year in the current format, or do we want to change it when everything's level? I don't think anybody right now should charge either party with playing politics on supporting this because, I mean, I just realized is that in addition to having the apportionment board seats with 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, 1 open seat here, you now have a Democrat House and a Republican Senate. This is a perfect time to come together and get 3/5 in each chamber and put this on the ballot and let the voters decide. You know, personally, I'd like to see the voters have something to vote on other than gambling.
But if the Democrats run the table, I mean, you'll lose even more. I mean, if this passes and the Democrats run the table.
I'll take that, because if they sweep the 3 constitutional offices, then the process of cutting up the district should reflect the will of the people in that election.
I agree with that. I think that, you know, in a purple state like ours, we're not a red state or a blue state, we're purple. And I think that if Kevin couldn't be more correct on this thing here, is that if one party runs the tables, then by God, let them have it. You know, they've earned it. I mean, obviously, the voters feel that this particular party right now is better in tune with the voters. And what better barometer than having 3 statewide elected officials reflect the whole thing? And if one party elects all 3, then at that point in time, you know, that's the process.
Is this proposed?
If I had my way, yeah. I think right now that term limits has been a big factor in affecting the way policy is done in the state, because, again, if you come from a so-called partisan safe district here and you've got term limits, you're less responsive. And I go back to that word, is being responsive to your voters. You know, I mean, look this way. In the Senate, you have your first term and your last term. Okay, I just got elected my last term. Theoretically, if I don't plan on running again here, I can vote whatever I want to here and not be responsive to my citizens. If I didn't have term limits in here, I probably wouldn't feel that way. Now, please don't put me down. I am being responsive to my citizens here. I'm not throwing them out, but I'm just saying is that opportunity exists there, and, you know, certainly in the House, even the 2-year term, if you're not going anywhere, you know, for 2 years there, we want to make sure that elected officials are responsive to their citizens. And I'll go back to this for emphasis. I think the next year that when we elect a governor and an auditor and a secretary of state, the most important thing is electing people there who are going to do a job in that position here, and not who's going to be drawing lines. That should not be the major concern.
Do you have anything to say about term limits?
Come on. All right, fine. I'll be bad candidate here for a second. I'll tell you what's on my mind about that. My concerns, I have all the traditional textbook concerns about term limits that everybody talks about. I think, as a matter of practicality, there's not much we can do about it because I see the opinion polls. But people should be really concerned about an aspect of this that they really don't think of, and that is that I love the lawmaking process. I love the policy-making process. It's ugly, it's human, it works, and there are days that I want to rip my hair off and vote people off the island around here, but I still like it. Having said that, it's built on three things: information, integrity, and relationships. And you've got to have, you got to rely on accurate and sound information. You got to trust that the information you're getting from people is sound. They have to have integrity, and therefore you have to build relationships. What I have observed around this place, having served with Gary before term limits went into effect, and now that they're out, is that the relationships between members are almost non-existent. And it's almost like there's this mindset that I'm here for 6 or 8 years, I'm going to set myself up for something else. I'm not going to emotionally invest in the institution. I'm not going to get to know my colleagues. I'm not going to learn how the agencies function. I'm not going to meet with university presidents. I'm not going to do all the things that I maybe would have done to really learn this place and figure out where my colleague from inner city Cleveland is coming from on an issue, or what in their life of my colleague from Dark County brings them to feel this way about that issue, so that I can have that personal comfort level and relationship with them. And then when they stand on the floor and they tell me about a bill that maybe I haven't had time to look at, I can trust that they're giving me good information. That isn't there anymore. And that makes for good law. That makes for good outcomes and good government for the people. And it's something the people of Ohio should be really concerned about, more than the textbook concerns about the rise of the bureaucracy and the administration, as opposed to the people that are elected down here. I think really that's the big problem that term limits has posed. Unfortunately, unless you're engaged in the process, you just don't see it or know that it's going on.